and welcome back to our channel. I'm Jennifer, here today with Kate, and today we're excited to update you on what we've been reading in February and so far in March.
If you saw our last video, you will know that it was a big book unhaul for Lent, passing along some of the books that we're done with. So today we wanted to balance that out by showing you some of the books that are alive and well in our house. Some of the books that we've read recently and enjoyed and wanted to share with all of you.
So the first thing we want to talk about today is a series of books called The Armor of God by Teresa Linden. Now, Kate and I have read 3 out of the 6 books in the series so far, and we both liked them so much that we wanted to be the one to talk about them in this video. So we had to compromise and say, well, we'll talk about them together then.
So these books are meant for 2nd to 3rd graders, kids who are preparing to receive their first communion or have just received their first communion. And it is based on St. Paul's famous letter to the Ephesians, where in chapter 6 he says to put on the armor of God.
So the main character, George Pennington, and his younger brother, Eric, are students at night school where they are trying to earn their armor of God, the boots of peace, the shield of faith, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, so that they can become knights.
And while they're striving to earn their armor, they are struggling with a lot of the same things that kids today face, such as lying versus telling the truth, obedience, etc., etc. And throughout the book, there are also these short catechism lessons from Brother Call, which address these issues and would be great for you and your kids to discuss.
So there are a lot of things that we really like about this series, but one of the things that we really have enjoyed is just the relationship between George and his brother Eric. They're just great foils for each other. George is more headstrong and impetuous and tends to charge into things, where Eric is the voice of reason. So they really balance each other out, and they're just able to learn a lot from each other and help each other.
And there are also a lot of ongoing mysteries throughout this series. For example, one of the teachers at night school is Sir Lucian, and both of us are dying to know his full story and figure out what happened to him. And let's also just say that night school sounds like a really great place, and we both want to go to night school now.
Yeah, sometimes we just during the day it just comes up like we should just go to night school. Let's just forget all this other stuff and go to night school. But then we start wondering what happened to Sir Lucian, and just will we ever find out? Maybe in book 4, which we're reading next, we'll finally find out what happens to him. We'll see. We'll let you know. But in any case, we think the series is a whole lot of fun and yet so helpful. It would be a great first communion gift, but I think that any age really could enjoy reading these.
So the first books I have today are The Perfect Blind Side and The Extreme Blind Side by Leslie Wall. So the first one, The Perfect Blind Side, follows Jake, an Olympic snowboarder, and Sophie, an aspiring photographer and journalist, who live in a small town in Colorado. They start off at odds with each other, but then things in their town start to heat up. We've got some suspicious activity going on, so they have to come together and figure out what exactly is going on and who is behind it. And I honestly devoured this book in just a couple of days, and it didn't take me very much longer to get through its sequel, The Extreme Blind Side. And this one follows Jake and Sophie the next year as they both attend the Mountain Madness Games, a winter sport competition where things are also heating up again. It's getting intense, it's even getting dangerous, and they get to go and figure out what's going on. So these two are great teen mystery, romance, adventure novels. We found them through the Catholic Teen Books website, so we'll have it linked down below. I highly recommend these. They kept me up late at night reading. 5 out of 5 stars.
My first book is this one, A Catholic Quest for the Holy Grail by Charles Coulomb. I got it for Christmas, and before I get into my review, I just want to say up front that this is a beautiful book. The artwork on the front is beautiful, and the artwork on the end pages is also beautiful. It really gives you that I'm hunting for the Holy Grail type of feeling. So this one covers a wide range of topics, everything from King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table to Eucharistic miracles. So it really does come at the Holy Grail from a Catholic angle, and I did learn a lot reading it. For example, did you know that there is in the world a chalice that the Catholic Church comes closest to officially declaring to be the true Holy Grail? Pope John Paul II and Pope Benedict XVI both used this chalice during Mass and referred to it as the cup of Christ, like they thought that it might be the actual real Holy Grail. So of course we can't know for sure, but I thought that was really interesting. In the back of the book there is a bonus section which has all the different countries in the world that are associated with the Holy Grail or different Eucharistic miracles, and it also has websites for each of these places listed. So I'm giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I did feel like the author was a little bit rambly in places. It wasn't bad, it was really no big deal. But then also the first chapter has a lot of detail in it about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table and different authors throughout the centuries who have written about the Holy Grail. And if you didn't already know something about the Holy Grail so that you could recognize these authors or the different books that he mentions, then it could feel, I think, a little bit overwhelming. But overall, once you get past that first chapter, it was really interesting to read, especially if you like history mysteries.
So the next book we have is Harriet Tubman, Secret Agent. So we read this one for school, and it is actually part of the same series from National Geographic as George Washington's Spy Master, which we talked about in our last What We've Been Reading video. So we'll have that linked for you. But anyway, this book tells the story of Harriet Tubman and other free blacks and slaves who acted as spies for the Union during the Civil War. So this has tons of details, tons of stories. There are pictures and maps. There's even a code in the back to decipher. And even though this book is small and it's not very long, it does cover the entire Civil War. We really enjoyed this one here and honestly think it would be good for all ages. You could use it for elementary or middle or high school. We think lots of people will enjoy this one just as much as we did.
My next book is The Badger Knight by Catherine Erskine, which I actually found at the Dollar Tree. The cover caught my eye, so I picked it up and I started to look at it, and I discovered that it is written about an archer. And since we love archery here, we have a long history of it in our family, I decided I would take a chance on this and take it home. So this book is set in the 1300s. And young Adrian is a master archer, but he is also albino. So as you can imagine, he has a lot of challenges in his life because of that and because of the way people treat him. He is smart though, and he is brave, and when the pagan Scots come over Hadrian's Wall to invade England, he decides that he needs to join the fighting so that he can help protect his home country. So there's a lot of action and adventure in this book, and I will admit that it did keep me up several nights. I couldn't stop reading it. I had to find out what happened next. It's very clever in places, it's very funny in places. Adrian meets a lot of interesting people, and he does learn a lot of life lessons along the way. And I have to admit, I did become rather fond of Adrian as I was reading this book. The only thing that I didn't like about this book was that in a couple of places he did use some bad language. It was just one word. It was probably very typically used during the Middle Ages, but still I think that the book would have been just as good without that word. It was only a couple of times, so I kind of just ignored it, but it's in there. I just wanted to let you know in case you decide to read this with your own kids. So if you are looking for a good living history book about the Middle Ages, or if you have kids at home who are into archery, then this is a fun book. It's good for middle school on up, and I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars.
The next book I have is Presenting Miss Jane Austen by May Lamberton Becker. So this one was another one that we read for school, and we had heard great things about it online. People really seemed to love this book. But when we read it, we honestly felt that it was just okay. It wasn't a flop book, but it also wasn't super spectacular either. That being said, the book is very interesting. It taught us a lot of things about Jane Austen and her life, her writing, her books that we never knew. The author definitely put a lot of time and love and research into her book. There are some places where she lapses into the first person instead of staying in the third person, which are kind of strange. They really stick out when you come across them. But if you're looking for a Jane Austen biography, this one could be well worth your time. It's not that long, it's pretty easy to get through, lots of people love it. It wasn't a favorite here, but I still would say that it is a good book.
My last book is The Watch by Alfred Sinnott, and it's a book to use during Holy Hour or Eucharistic Adoration. The watch comes from the apostles falling asleep in the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus says, "Could you not watch with me for 1 hour?" So Archbishop Sinnott wrote this book in the 1940s when Eucharistic Adoration and that whole idea of having a holy hour was still fairly new. And he lamented the fact that there were no books written in English that his parish could use for a holy hour. So he put one together himself. So in this book, there are 12 holy hours, one for each month of the year, and then there are 2 bonus holy hours, one for Holy Thursday and one for the 40 hours. And each hour is set up the same way. There's an opening prayer that you use every month, and then there are reflections and prayers and hymns. So you start off by reading a reflection, and then you kneel to say the prayer, and then you sing a hymn. Again, it was meant to be used by his church as a whole, so probably most of us are not going to break out into song in the Adoration Chapel. But I think that it would be really cool to make a playlist of songs to go with each hour, and you could definitely listen to that during your holy hour. So I feel like this one is really active. You're really participating in the holy hour. 3 different reflections, 3 different prayers, 3 different songs for each hour. It is out of print, but there are tons of nice cheap copies out there online. I'm giving this one 4 out of 5 stars only because some of the prayers that he wrote are very heavy on the thee and thou, very King James at times. Usually that doesn't bother me, but I have to say, like, sometimes I'm just like, okay, enough with the thee and thou. But overall, I'm really enjoying this one, and I definitely recommend it. So that's a look at what we've been reading here lately. We definitely have read some fun books. Let us know in the comments what you've read lately.
So we hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.